In 45 minutes, we had a very successful operation. We eliminated 7 terrorists in that operation, out of which 3 were right in front of me. The most important thing was not a single scratch in any of my boys,
So you got into the NDA.
NDA is an amazing academy. It's the only academy which trains all 3 services together right after high school. Day in and day out, we were told that the more you sweat in peace, the less you will bleed in war. And this is true for young listeners who are listening, that you have to practice. Exams will be there, exams will be tough. Exams will be tough only when you're not prepared. Philately can be used as a pedagogy technique. There are stamps where you can actually play them and you can listen to them. Like Bhutan has brought out a stamp where you can listen to the national anthem. It's a LP record. There are stamps brought out from Brazil. When you lick it, it'll smell. It tastes like coffee. There are stamps which smell like sandalwood. So all 5 senses.
Vembu has one of the largest autograph collections, and each has a story.
I've been collecting since about 35 plus years. Numbers wise, would be more than about 8,000, 10,000 autographs.
What do you think a young person should do, or what anybody should do at this point of time to get to the truth of the matter, to get to facts?
So I have come up with these 2 mantras in my life that I always look for the 3 C's. First, is it correct? Second, is it complete? And third, is it current?
Welcome to Quizzitok, the podcast where we celebrate knowledge, learning, and inspiring journeys. Today we have a guest whose life story is a testament to courage, service, and lifelong learning and passions. He's an Indian Army veteran, a decorated Shaurya Chakra awardee, a passionate quizzer, a dedicated autograph hunter, and a founder of a wonderful social initiative called Project Sambandh. Please join me in welcoming Colonel Vembu Shankar. Hi Vembu, how are you doing?
Oh, top of the world, and it's a great pleasure to be having a conversation with you, Babu. And we grew up watching you on TV and aspiring to be conducting quizzes like you. Maybe we just climbed the first step.
No, you're walking with the dinosaurs. I've been around since the Jurassic Age, in a matter of speaking, but really, it's so good to have you. And I'm calling you Vembu, but I realize that, that's the family name. People call you Shankar, is that correct?
That's right. Vembu is my father's name. And there's an interesting story to that. Vembu actually means neem. So when people they have a death when there's a child or there is some illness or something, so they have a name which is a little kadwa, which is a little, not good sounding. So Vembu is neem, which is like very bitter. That's why you have names like Vembu, Pichai. Pichai means to beg.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so between my father and my father's elder
Sundar Pichai.
That's right.
That's where it comes from.
That's right.
A little bitter to taste.
Pichai is to beg. So a name which is not good sounding will help the child survive.
Nazar ko utarne ke.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how my father, they named him Vembu. It was a bitter. And between him and his elder brother, there were about 8 or 9, stillbirths and things like that. And he survived, and because of him, we are here. And we are very happy to carry that name as Vembu. I'm Vembu Shankar, and I got 2 elder brothers who are Vembu Venkatramanan and Vembu Shivkumar.
That's right. And your brother, of course, is a quizzer. He is also a sports journalist and a journalist generally, and he's been conducting quizzes for a long time. And he's Ramanan, is that right?
That's right. Vembu Venkatramanan. Or
Venkatramanan.
Yes, so Vembu is the father's name.
But I may slip into calling you Vembu because I've always called you that since the days we first met on Mastermind. Shankar.
Vembu or Shankar is fine. All the bouquets and brickbats for Vembu is fine.
Terrific. We're thrilled to have you with us. Really so good to have a chat because you've had quite a life and you have such varied interests. Because right here, here's somebody who's an army veteran. At the age of 22, he won a Shaurya Chakra. Is that correct? Around 22?
That's right. That's right.
Tell us about it. Can you share what actually happened? What earned you that Shaurya Chakra at that very young age?
Well, interesting story because I got commissioned in 1997, and like all young officers, we were posted to the most difficult areas, which was Jammu and Kashmir at that time. And I was doing my attachment with the Dogra Scouts, which is an infantry battalion. We were deployed earlier in the Indo-China border close to Himachal Pradesh, but then we were moved to Kashmir, and I was deployed in a place called Bod Bungas, which is at 10,000 feet above sea level. It's a beautiful meadow, and people who have been to Switzerland and Bod Bungas say Switzerland is nowhere close to where Bod Bungas is. And just 1 year of service, I was posted there and learning the ropes, only fired on the ranges, never fired live. And the first 2 or 3 months, we were just seeing the area, trying to get acquainted with the people out there, because a lot of graziers come from across, from the different parts of Kashmir to come and graze there. So this was in the month of July, when we had got some information, to be specific, on the July 1st at about...
Which year was this?
This is 1998.
All right.
97, I got commissioned. 1998.
Within a year?
Within a year.
Wow.
I had just come back from my young officers' course and my commandos. And we got an information at about 5:30 in the evening saying that some terrorists might have crossed over from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And there are chances that they might cross my area of responsibility because they were headed to some place. And we were told to make sure that all the places where they could cross should be blocked through ambushes or patrolling. We had a small group of about 50, 60 soldiers, so I split them into 5 different groups, and I led one of the ambushes, me along with another junior commissioned officer and 10 other ranks. And such kind of inputs keep coming. So we thought it's a routine information, just carried a haversack, didn't have dinner. And we went to a place which was the more difficult place at that time, which was Gormattar Gully, which was 13,500 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Night was torrential rain, but luckily we had seen that place, we had recceed that. Night, nothing happened, and we kept waiting. So early morning, a little bit of snow was there. So I reached out to my headquarters and told them that, nothing has happened. They said, stay put. Still the input is there, the intelligence is there, and we kept waiting. We waited for another party to fetch up so that they can scan the area. And when they were trying to come and meet us, they encountered 3 militants, and they shot 2 of them, and 1 escaped. And we were told to go behind that 1 person who escaped. So the whole of 2nd of July, the 1st of July, we got information. 2nd of July, we were trying to, we lost height from 13,500. We came to about 8,000, searched the jungles, couldn't find anyone. And we said, okay, sir, shall we call off the operation? Boys are also tired. They said, no, you have to go back to Gormatnar Gully because the information is still active. All of us were tired. We didn't have dinner the previous day, no breakfast, lunch, nothing. And we got back at about 9 o'clock, again back to Gormatnar Gully. And at 4 o'clock early morning on the 3rd of July, the sentry on duty, he had a night vision device, and he woke me up. We were all tired. He woke me up and he said, I'm seeing some movement. Can you just confirm? So by the time he could give me the night vision goggles to me, I could see a couple of people with haversacks at about 100 yards away from us. This was 4 o'clock, still dark. We were all tired. So I took a decision that let me stay put because we knew the area very well. We started only at about 6:30, and we were going to the place where our base was, which is Bungas, where we were settled. And by about 8:45, when we were descending, the militants saw us and they fired on us. We were just 11 of us, so we split ourselves into 3 different
And how many
groups.
of them were there?
We didn't know at that time. We didn't know at that time. We just heard firing. And the original input was that about 10 or 12 terrorists, out of which 2 were killed, 1 escaped. So we were not sure how many of them were there. So we split ourselves into 3 different... and the terrorists who were right in front of me, they were behind the tree, and we were also behind the tree, and we kept on firing. And people say, oh, you're brave, and there's no fear. But the first emotion is fear.
Your knees
yeah,
turn into jelly.
Absolutely. And the first time, because you're only firing in a range where there are no bullets coming back at you,
Yeah.
And here you're firing and the bullets coming back at you. So when people say, oh, he's not afraid, that's not true. The first fear. But how fast you overcome that? Because you're leading, a group of men. And so how fast you overcome, that comes through training. And that's what I did in the first about maybe 30 seconds. I poofed off some 20 rounds completely against the training, because one is a little jittery. And I had a buddy with me who was just a sepoy. But he told me, Saab, you have to be careful. If you go around, you'll run out of ammunition. And that's when I quickly regained my composure. And then we engaged in a firefight. One of them tried to run away, ran behind them. I mean, one could do this when we're young and you're full of hot blood. We did that, and in about 45 minutes, the whole operation, we couldn't hear any more rounds coming from the other side. In 45 minutes, we had a very successful operation. We eliminated 7 terrorists in that operation, out of which 3 were right in front of me. And overall, the first day 2, then 7, then a couple of days more. Totally 13 terrorists, the whole group which had crossed over, were eliminated. So I think more than that of the terrorists being eliminated, the most important thing was not a single scratch in any of my boys, And that's what I feel that is an achievement that, yes, we have eliminated them. They have come here to create terror. But it's also important that the troops that you lead. This goes back to my training days where day in and day out, we were told that the more you sweat in peace, the less you will bleed in war. And this is true for young listeners who are listening, that you have to practice. Exams will be there, exams will be tough. Exams will be tough only when you're not prepared, And I think because of the training, we knew the area very well. I was confident of my men. I was confident of my weapon. And that's the reason. And not only this operation, I've been involved in other operations. Not a single scratch in any of my complete military career, which I'm proud of, And that's the reason why I was awarded the Shaurya Chakra.
Remarkable and very well deserved, as a matter of fact. I think we have a picture. Well, those are the kind of
that's
things
right.
that you
They were
captured.
Absolutely on the right side. You can
Artillery
see
and
me
guns.
my junior commissioned officer. They had a machine gun, universal machine gun. Each of them were having a AK-47. The leader was having a pistol also. And this was close to August, so they were, I think, trying to create some mischief before the Independence Day. So maybe they would have tried something, because those days were really difficult times in Jammu and Kashmir. And that's the kind of this thing. And it was a great moment receiving the award from the president. The family was there. My parents were there.
Yes, getting the medal pinned.
And yes, and then later I got to meet the president again and got his autograph too.
And you already had an autograph collecting bug by that time.
Absolutely. I started when I was about 9 or 10 years old, when I started collecting autographs.
Now that we've gone to your childhood, what I want to ask you is, was there any, how should I put it, military ancestry that you had in the family? Were there anybody else who was in the army? Where did that interest come in from? When did you decide, straight out of school, I want to go to the NDA?
A good question, because I'm coming from a completely civilian background. Father was a publisher in Oxford University Press, so we had great access to books and comics, Asterix, Tintin, and things like that, more academic. But I joined the Boy Scouts movement, We were 3 brothers. We are still 3 brothers. Both of them were into quizzing and things like that. But I joined the Boy Scouts movement, which made a huge impact in my life. I was a Cub Scout and then became a Boy Scout. I joined at about 11, 12 years old, and also got the Rashtrapati Award, which was the highest award in Boy Scouts. So it gave me an exposure to being outdoors, camaraderie, being intense, doing some adventure stuff. Then I realized that uniform, this is my first exposure to uniform. This is an interesting life, and to continue this, I think armed forces is a great way. And then those days there were the Republic Day parades, which were screened on Doordarshan. There used to be an interesting serial called Paramveer Chakra, which was, I think, directed by Chetan Anand.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good series where they could portray the stories of the Paramveer Chakra awardees. And that was also a great inspiration. Also Amar Chitrakatha and things like that. Commando comics, if you remember those days.
Yes, absolutely.
So these were science information. Nobody from the family from the armed forces. So I said the best way to get it through National Defense Academy, because that's one of the elite academy, and that's why I joined right after my school, National Defense Academy.
Family had any misgivings? You're getting into this very dangerous...
We were very lucky. We were lucky, all 3 of us. The parents have been great support to us. They said, you can do whatever you want. Mother had a little bit of, worry that, you're going to army, because we didn't have any exposure. So army means going to the field and fighting. But then when she realized that this is something that I want to do, and I've been telling this right from my 4th grade, that I want to join the armed forces and be in uniform. And so I think they encouraged me and supported everywhere,
Fantastic. So you got into the NDA. And the learning and the exposure, you said that your dad was in publishing, and so you had a treasure trove of books around you, right from the very beginning, of all kinds.
That's right.
Not only Commando comics and Asterix and Tintin, which is a dream for any young kid, but also, I'm sure, other books, because you've also been a quizzer. and in that area right through your military days and everything like that, because we had you on Mastermind.
That's
As a serving officer, young serving officer. So that interest too came from the family.
Absolutely. I think access to books, because that was one great way to gain knowledge. I was a philatelist. So, I used to collect stamps. My eldest brother used to collect stamps. So I inherited a little collection from him. And stamps give you a lot of knowledge, such a small piece of paper, but it'll give you something about the culture, something about the country, the currency will be mentioned. I had a good collection of stamps. And that's how I started building my knowledge base, and of books, of course, And there is to be a healthy competition between the three brothers about quizzing, knowing a little fact, and then checking whether you know this or not. And not the internet days where you can Google and find out. You have to actually go to a library or find out from a sports magazine or a book.
That's
and then, and they will tell you, how did you find it out? And then you have to explain to them, and that's how,
What was the activity like at school?
school, there were a lot of, my school had a decent quiz team. So we used
Which one was this?
the PS Senior Secondary School in Malapore.
Okay.
It was a CBSE school, a private school. But we had a decent quiz team, a debate team, and a dumb charades team. So I used to participate in all that. I was above average in academics, but I used to be interested in this because you could make new friends, not from your school. Scouting was also like that. You get to meet new people. And I'm a person who likes to meet new people, build relationships and things like that. So quizzing, or culturals, as they used to call it, it used to be an inter-school competition. I could meet people from students from other schools. And a healthy competition of quizzing. We had some good school quiz teams in Chennai. And I was born in Calcutta, which is, the quizzing capital. And my father and Neil O'Brien they were contemporaries. And
At OUP, because he was
OUP,
also
that's
at
right.
Oxford University
They
Press.
joined
Yeah.
office on the same day.
All right.
Three sons here, so much in common,
Yeah.
And so my brothers had participated in the Moon Meter and things like that, Moon Meter quiz competition. So in school, yes, inter-school quiz competitions. And then IIT, IIT Madras had a good quizzing club. And that's how, and looking up to your brothers, they were into trivia and quizzing.
I know mentoring figures is important. You've been largely self-driven in the path you took, as well as the kind of sense of adventure that you always had. In this case, you also had mentoring figures to some extent from your older brothers who did that kind of thing, and in the family and teachers.
Absolutely. More than mentoring, it's rivalry, Rivalry. In fact, one quiz, we were three different
What was the
teams.
age difference?
Age difference was actually too much because my eldest brother is 9 years elder to me. The elder one, B.B. Raman, is 7 years elder to me. So there have been open quizzes where we have been three different teams, So more than mentoring, it's rivalry. So each of us had in those days, we used to write down the questions in a diary, We used to
A
have,
lot of people do that right till, because I came into it not as a quizzer, but as a quizmaster.
Yeah.
And at that time, members of the research team, a number of them, they used to attend quizzes. That's one of the ways that they picked up a lot of information, like sponges,
Absolutely.
They would note stuff and figure it out. And now, of course, things are very different.
Yeah.
But that's how it happened. So you two used to do
So
that.
we used to maintain our own diaries, and many a time not exchange. And we used to expect what kind of questions will come from which quizmaster. And Chennai had some good quizzers and quizmasters. So, and always I used to pick up every new year, I used to get a diary and I used to start off, who is a long pig was my first question always in my diary. A long pig is a victim in a cannibal spot. And so my brothers always used to make fun of me. Oh, every time you get a new diary, you write the first question is, who's a long pig? So, yeah, we used to meet in diaries. So, a little rivalry. But, of course, I should credit it to them that they set up a good environment, and parents also. They encouraged us to do what we wanted, what gave us happiness,
Which is so important, because then you throw yourself into the activity, and you always had that. I don't think, you had that sense of adventure. So you plunged into it, and then you meet people, different kind of people. But the more you practice, the more you know, and you pick up, whether from notes or from something that you hear, or you keep your eyes and mind open. And that's how you find out more. Really, I mean, it is really like...
Absolutely. I mean, I always credit it to hobbies. In fact, sometimes I go and give talks on how philately can be used as a pedagogy technique, because it's one of the few things that you can involve all five senses. People think, how can you involve stamps in listening, or how can you involve stamps in taste? I said there are stamps where you can actually play them and you can listen to them. Like Bhutan has brought out a stamp where you can listen to the national anthem. It's a LP record. There are stamps brought out from Brazil. When you lick it, it'll smell. I mean, it tastes like coffee. There are stamps which smell like sandalwood. So all five senses, So these are ways hobbies have got us. So if you keep your ears, eyes open, I think you can take in the knowledge.
You have a number of hobbies and you've kept them up. Philately is one of them. And Vembu, and we are going to come to that just a little later, has one of the largest autograph collections, and each has a story. Each has a story on how he hunted it down from different parts of the world, from celebrities, from Nobel laureates, from people in government, from sports people, A-listers, you name it. He's done that and he's chased that down. And the stamp collection too. What's your favorite stamp?
Oh, well, my favorite stamp is this Bhutan collection of, it's called Talking Stamps. It's a set of 6 stamps, which were, in an LP records. So Bhutan had brought out some interesting stamps, 3D stamps and, stamps made out of different materials, silk and things like that. So these were talking stamps, which is my collection.
Bhutan also has this other facility, which is that if you give them a picture, they'll make a stamp out of it, which has value, and you can send it to anywhere in the world. And
absolutely.
Vembu had surprised me once. There was a family picture which you found from somewhere. I think it was off Facebook or something like that. And suddenly he landed up with this whole page full of stamps of different denominations. And he said, here's something for you.
Absolutely.
So you enjoy that.
I enjoy that. And, it gives me happiness, going through the old collection and seeing how I got up stamped. We used to exchange stamps in those days. And
I want to come back to the NDA.
Yeah.
And how important training is and how important training was even in that encounter, out of which you came out with a Shaurya Chakra apart from other things, and an important act of service in the defense of the country. But what were the key things that stick out in your mind in that training which stood you in good stead?
Well, India is an amazing academy. It's the only academy which trains all 3 services together right after high school, first in the world. And I came from a little privileged background, coming from a private school, and I got to see that people have come from across India. People have come from military schools. People have come from RIMC and things like that. Or people have come from a agricultural background and things like that. And that's the greatness about NDA, the diversity in NDA. And everybody's good at something. And what NDA teaches you, 2-3 things that it teaches you. The motto of NDA is service before self. Day in and day out, every day morning, 6 o'clock, you come with a prayer where you say that, please give us strength so that we can place the men we command more than us and do service before self. And the camaraderie. The camaraderie is amazing. It's more than 30 plus years. Not even a phone call, even a thought away, and people will just come. So we are divided into squadrons, which are like hostels, and the camaraderie is amazing at NDA. And we have various sporting competitions, various tactical competitions, and most of them have got some learnings. One of them is the cross-country run, which happens every term in India. It's a 6 terms, which is 3 years in India. And the competition is for the squadron, which is the hostel, to finish in a particular time, for everybody to finish. So the first person will get a particular point, but it's also important for the last person to finish. So every year you will have one odd case of somebody carrying another cadet and finishing. It's not the first person finishes in a quick time, but it's how important that the last person finishes. This is very important in life too. It's important that as a leader, you make sure that everybody is participating in finishing the race. And the negative points for somebody dropping out is much higher than the timing difference. So this is a great learning that I had in National Defense Academy. Of course, the food is amazing in National Defense Academy. All of us, about 1,200 of us, eat together in one of Asia's largest messes. Everybody sits down together. The food is excellent. The nutrition quality is great. And as a 17, 19-year-old, I think if you can take care of food and good physical activity, I think you're there.
Absolutely. It sounds like it was a blast for you and you enjoyed it and you came out with that much more steel, as it were.
I went in as a boy and came out as a man.
But there you are. So you heard what it was like to be in the NDA. 3 years, 4 years?
3 years at the NDA, and then 1 year because I was an Army cadet, I went to Indian Military Academy, which is at Dehradun.
Yes.
And that's where we did the military training. And Military Academy, of course, Indian Military, since we came from NDA, we were a little more confident. And that was 1 year was purely military training,
Right. And that too, I think it's one of the premier military academies anywhere in the world. The IMA, I believe.
Absolutely.
And it
The
has
first course had 3 chiefs. You had Field Marshal Manekshaw, then you had Smith Dunn, then you had the Musa, who was the chief of Pakistan. 3 chiefs from one course.
yeah, which is fantastic. In your military career, you've had different kind of postings in different places. You did a stint with military intelligence, I believe. What were the highlights for you?
Well, the highlights were going to different places, meeting different kind of people. Every day is a challenge. There's nothing in the book that it's not it's written in the book and you can follow that. Every day is a challenge. Got to go to different parts of the country. I had a great opportunity to even serve abroad. I was part of a training team in Bhutan. So that was a great opportunity for me to be representing your country, representing the country's military there. And more important is every day with a satisfaction that you're leading men and women. We've got women in the army, and it is a great satisfaction. They're able to solve their problems. They look up to you as a leader. So you always have to be in a game every time, and they look up to you, and you'll have to set the example. And that's how leadership is, and especially junior leadership is setting example.
I remember meeting you in Bhutan when you were there, when you were serving there as a military attaché.
That's right. We were part of the military team there. So, yeah.
There was a military team. You wrote a couple of books there. One was a remarkable Dzongkha English Hindi dictionary.
That's right. That's a very interesting project because I always believe that language is a great icebreaker. It's part of cultural intelligence. And if you know the language, then automatically the other person is going to open up and speak to you. And I realized that most of the troops who are there in Bhutan are soldiers, officers, yes. And there were no resources in those days of internet, YouTube, and things like that. So I realized that if I can make a good dictionary, and father was in Oxford University Press, so there's the dictionary thing. And dictionary is a start point, and as a Boy Scout, I had gone to Japan. And there I used a dictionary to communicate and to find out specific words. So I said dictionary is important. So English Dzongkha, yes, but Hindi is also important because there was a rudimentary English Dzongkha dictionary already existing. So this is the first trilingual dictionary in the world of English, Dzongkha, and Hindi. And, getting the pronunciation and the phonetics correct, and then making sure that you don't make any mistake. Of course, there were mistakes.
But you had to learn Dzongkha.
I had to learn Dzongkha. And then also, one is the academic learning, but more important is to know the nuances of the slang and things like that. So I got this book done, and it was a great hit. It was presented to His Majesty, the Fourth King, and people appreciated it, and people used it for reference. And of course, now you have a digital version. The government of Bhutan itself has brought out a version, but there's not a single dictionary still on English, Hindi, and Dzongkha.
Trilingual dictionary.
Trilingual dictionary.
Remarkable. You also know a couple of other languages.
I can speak a little bit of Japanese, Japanese and French. These are the 2 languages, foreign language. Otherwise, Bangla bolte pari kami. Tamil to मेरा तरिया नल्ला त्रियों पैसे तरिया रख के हिंदी तो बोल ही सकता हूँ मैं.
Bangla how come?
Bangla में तो कोलकाता चिलाम,
Chile
अगरतला चिलाम, शिलीगुड़ी चिलाम.
Okay, so you picked up over there.
It's definitely icebreaker. Young listeners who are listening to us, language is very important. Now you've got great tools like Duolingo and all, where you can have a streak of learning a language. You can make great new friends.
At some point, you left the army prematurely. Tell us about it. Why?
So I served in the army for 20 years. I was commanding a unit in Bagdogra in Northeast. And commanding a unit is the pinnacle of any young officer, You're the boss. You can have the chief of army staff, but till the time the commanding officer doesn't give you an order, nobody moves, So when I was commanding, I realized that there is a gap, especially because I was opposite a airport in Bagdogra. I was posted there. And every second or third day, I saw there was some mortal remains which are coming, and I used to facilitate the move the mortal remains. And there used to be a representative of the unit who used to come with the mortal remains, and a representative from the family used to come to collect. And when I got talking to them, I realized that there is a gap. They're not aware what the future is, what's going to happen. And these are not casualties who die because of operational reasons. These are non-operational reasons. These are called physical casualties. People who die because of accidents, suicides, medical conditions. And I saw somebody dying every second or third day. So I started doing a little research and I found out that the Indian Army has 1,500 such casualties every year. That means 1,500 families and extended families are affected. I started doing a little bit of research and started to find out where these families are. And I realized it's very difficult to track them down because they've moved houses, social conditions. And that's when I thought, okay, let me take premature retirement because I'd already done 20 years of service. I was entitled to a pension and also the bond had finished. So I said the best way is to take premature retirement and serve this cause of trying to connect with the next of kin of these physical casualties. Those are Indian Army personnel who die while in service because of non-operational circumstances like accidents, suicides, medical condition, fratricides. And their families have a lot of challenges. They have financial challenges, social challenges, emotional challenges. And these challenges can be addressed if there is a connect. And I believe that I had the skills to connect and to find out where they are. Again, to go back to my hobbies, I can track down anyone. Since I've tracked down celebrities, I said, okay, I can track down these people too.
Families. And that's called Project Sambandh.
That's right. That's called Project Sambandh. It's a completely one-man philanthropic this thing. There's no NGO or something. I spend my own money. I travel across India.
It is Colonel Vembu Shankar
That's right.
doing a solo operation.
And my technology of using the Microsoft Excel and my telephone and making the call.
Why not gather more people into the effort?
So the organization already exists in the terms of Indian Army. What I want to make is that you have to institutionalize the whole thing. And since Indian Army, the organization already exists, I want it to be institutionalized within the Indian Army. Shankar will be there today or tomorrow he might not be there. And nobody's forcing me to do this, but I want it to be institutionalized. The Indian Army is one of the best organizations in terms of support provided at the time of death. You will have somebody making sure the documents are fine, but 6 months, 10 months down the line, they're forgot. And that's where the gap is. And so that's the reason why I've not made an organization. There are many organizations which do this, and then there's associated issues with it. So I said, let's do it what is already existing, institutionalize it, so that it becomes routine. And today's connected world with WhatsApp and telephones and media calls, I think it's only the effort and the mindset which I'm trying to change.
So we've learned a lot about Colonel Vembu Shankar's association with the army, with Project Sambandh, with some of his operations and where the inspiration to join the army came from, what his training was like. But he's a man with different facets. The next facet we're going to get into is quizzing. He spoke a little bit of what he used to do as a student, as did his brothers. And from the army, the first time I met Vembu Shankar was on Mastermind, one of the toughest quizzes in the world. That format is really intimidating and formidable. And there he was, a serving army officer, marching up to the black chair, sitting down there. What was your first subject in the preliminary?
I chose Life and Times of Moshe Dayan. He was an Israeli general.
Yes, of course.
With a black patch. Absolutely. He was a great hero for me. And these are the pre-internet days, So I had to read about 5 or 6 books. I knew everything about Moshe Dayan.
You did brilliantly. You won that round.
Yeah, I won that round. I had made, those small cards that you write the questions. And I was serving. I was posted in the Indian Military Academy as an instructor. So very tough and, very busy. But it was a great learning. And till today, I've got those cards. And once in a while, I just pick it up and, ask someone to ask some questions. That's a great learning about Moshe. And I got to meet you and your team and, of course, the other participants. And we're still friends. So many
That's right. I think that was in the year 2001, if I'm right.
Should be 2002, if I'm
2002.
not wrong.
2002. That was the last season of Mastermind India in the country on BBC World, I think it was at that time. And in the semi-finals, what was your subject?
Semi-finals, because between the quarterfinal, semi-final, the time is less and you have to give your topics. So I chose a topic which is a little vast topic, which is Life and Times of Indian Raman Magsaysay Award winners. Wow, that's 42 plus at that time. That's much more now. So to learn about them and to know about the biography, that was a vast subject. But great learning again. I learned about Baba Amte, whom I didn't know anything about. Raman Magsaysay Award winner, was born to a rich family, drove an open car with panther skin and things like that, and gave it up and did social service. If not for Mastermind, I wouldn't have known about Baba Amte. Maybe that's something in my mind about...
Number of very remarkable people
Absolutely.
have been given that award.
So that was this thing. Unfortunately, I lost to a better quizzer who also chose a good topic.
Very narrowly from what I can
Yeah,
recall.
but he chose Watson and Sherlock Holmes, which is...
Which is quirky
Yes.
and has its own challenges and so on and so forth. But what did you find taking part in that? One is, of course, finding out a lot about a specialized subject. And then, of course, there was the general knowledge aspect.
Correct.
So you have to master the subject, but also, very importantly, you have to recall things at will. And that comes from practice, from really knowing your onions and knowing your content. And besides, you have to keep your cool. There are 2 or 3 things which you have to keep in mind to excel in a format like that.
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of learning from just those 2 episodes. The first one, see, when the going it's great, then you're confident, you're able to take. It's only when the failure happens, that's when you need to be composed, And the first round, since I knew Moshe Dayan very well, I was very confident, took on all the questions of general knowledge. But in the second round, I fumbled maybe in the 3rd or 4th question itself. And then it's playing in your mind. And then the lights and the quick format and how fast you come out. This is a great learning for me, which I used in my professional life. Because you made a mention about me being in military intelligence. This actually, the format was because of an interrogation technique,
Absolutely. Bill Wright, who originated Mastermind, he had been captured by the Nazis in Germany. He had fallen behind enemy lines and he was there. And they had one harsh light in his face and they kept saying, name, rank, number, name, rank, number, which is the introduction of Mastermind, sort of name, occupation, specialized subject, and just...
Wow, I'm seeing Babu just like that. 20 plus years ago, the flashbacks are coming to
That's
me.
right. And complete darkness, limbo lighting, a single spotlight, and the camera unrelentingly zooming in for almost a minute into the face, from 2 angles. So that is where the format originates from. Incidentally, the title music for that Mastermind, the international one, is called Approaching Menace.
Correct.
Initially, the Quizmaster on the show was being called the Inquisitor or the Interrogator. And then that, of course, changed in a different way. Magnus, and he was such a silken...
And we grew up seeing Mastermind. And so I picked up certain things from that 2 episodes itself, apart from the friends and meeting you and your team. It's quick questions. You can falter sometimes. And I'm used to it in interrogation techniques live. Have had successes.
I'm sure, absolutely.
Quick questions, always sometimes if you're lying, then you'll be caught. If you tell a truth, you don't have to remember it. If you lie, then you'll have to remember what you said. And if you do quick questioning, and if you've lied, you'll be caught.
Vembu, we're going to put you under the spot.
Oh, is it?
We're going to darken the lights, and we're going to fire at you rapid fire questions. We call it speed shots. Your name?
Vembu Shankar,
Place of residence?
Chennai,
Occupation?
Indian Army veteran.
Vembu Shankar, we'll start your speed shots now. What's been the scariest moment in action?
Well, the first bullet was fired at me.
And what has been the most triumphant?
When we came to know that none of our troops have got any scratches. My first operation.
The favorite place you've traveled to in your military career?
Samdo in Himachal Pradesh.
And the best feast you've had as an army officer?
In Bhutan with complete Ema Datsi and the complete Bhutanese cuisine.
What's your favorite comfort food? Go-to comfort food?
Always Pongal Vada.
All right, a historical figure you'd love to have dinner with?
Mahatma Gandhi.
If you could master one new skill instantly, what would it be?
Speak all the languages.
Favorite item in your autograph collection?
Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam.
A language you wish you could speak fluently?
Japanese.
First thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Check my health status in my watch.
Your favorite outdoor activity?
Golf.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
A piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Discover more, explore more.
And that is time. Thank you very much. Lights up. You came through with flying colors on that one. I think not just as an inquisitor or a quizmaster, as it were, but also if you were put on the hot seat, that's how you'd perform.
Yeah.
And you can breathe easy now.
Yeah.
Easy, all right? Because Before we move on to your autograph hunting and maybe a little bit about your magic you also do, we've spoken about philately, of course, about quizzing. You've been conducting quizzes as well, apart from taking part in quizzes. Very recently, you did the Quizzer of the Year for us. You ran all the regional rounds along with Joy Bhattacharya. And so you've been conducting quizzes elsewhere too, all over the country, in different places. Tell us about any memorable ones, or interesting group of people you've quizzed with.
Well, yeah, conducting quizzes have been my passion. Yes, one is quizzing, sitting and for getting the questions. But when you conduct quizzes, you interact with the crowd. Like I told you, I like to be with people, especially with children, school children, and trying to tell them that knowledge is so important. And so I've been conducting quizzes right from my young age. In school, I used to conduct quizzes for the inter-school quizzes. But then when I joined the armed forces, it became a little difficult. But then we had this inter-academy quizzes between NDA and IMA. So people always associate the military with just the brawn. But they are very sharp, brainy people in the armed forces too. So I used to conduct quizzes for the Indian Military Academy, National Defense Academy. Then later, when I was in Bhutan, I used to do it for the school children there. And through the quizzes, my quizzes are mostly to tell the people that you have to be curious. You have to be curious. Always look out for learning, and knowledge will always take you places. Knowledge always take you.
You have to be able to make connections. You have to make educated guesses.
Correct.
So in that sense, having a foundational knowledge, general knowledge, is very important to be able to navigate your way through that labyrinth, as it were. And in your experience, particularly when you've worked with kids, informally or even formally, what are the kinds of things that you do to get them involved, get it interactive?
Absolutely. So most of my quizzes, there won't be any negative markings. So I want them to guess. I want to make it as funny as possible. And most of my questions would be something that they have gone through in their life, that observed somewhere. So I do a little bit of research on where the kids are coming from, what are their hobbies, and then set the questions, And so that they would have seen it, but it's in the tip of the tongue. And then when I give the explanations, is it so? We do it every day, but we never knew that this is because of that. And,
It's always interesting when you unveil something that they thought was something else, and then you shed a new light on it. I think that's what makes it interesting. And if it's relatable,
Correct.
That's important. I've always had an aversion to the term trivia.
Yeah.
Because I personally, I've never been interested in obscure information.
Correct.
Or, strange coincidences. For me, it is about what I would call factual fundas.
Absolutely.
And about the fun of finding out.
Correct. And try and give enough clues so that they can come out to the answer, Just not, what is the capital of so-and-so? Which
right.
capital is based in so-and-so, which has also got, something like that. So since I interacted, nowadays, Quizzer of the Year was a great awareness. Just recently, I was talking to someone. I was telling them, I've conducted a lot of open quizzes and live quizzes. I thought I'm a master at that, interacting with the crowd and all that. But when I came in front of the camera, it's a different ball game. And thanks to you, Babu, you set it and you coached me and how to do it. You told it's just a conversation that you're having. It's not a great auditorium. You have to welcome the guest, have a conversation. And it's just a small camera. And I think I've been lucky to be, involved with the Kaun Banega Crorepati, where I saw Mr.
As a
Bachchan,
best expert.
as an expert there.
That's right.
And I see Mr. Bachchan, initial days and now how he's conducting it, And I think a lot of credit to you for how you've...
It's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure to be able to work as a kind of coach to such a variety of talent and people. There's Mr. Bachchan. There's people like you, because I think you came through with great flair. When we did Quizzer of the Year, the regional rounds were entirely digitally recorded. The contestants were sitting in their homes in front of their computers, and we had the host, Colonel Vembu Shankar, here and conducting it. And the games were all sort of, interesting games that we had devised, which had to be done real time. Online.
Correct.
And you got the results online, and yet it had to be stitched together. So it was completely remote and digital, and it was stitched together. And you did a great job of putting it
It
together.
was a great learning for me again. I thought I'm a master at that, but when I came, that I realized that you need to do a lot of training. And again, it comes back to that. You need to train, keep your ears and eyes open, watch others, and learn. And I could do what I could, but also watching at Conbare Karpati was a great experience for me to be participating
Yes,
there.
you've been a popular guest expert actually, and Mr. Bachchan has been very appreciative of your inputs and how you managed to come out with the answers, because that's challenging too. That's another kind of hot seat.
True.
To be because from the experts, it's a lifeline. So there's no guarantee that
Correct.
the expert may be right or wrong, and nobody's supposed to know everything. But the expectation is it has to be the correct answer, because my life and my expectations and my dreams depend upon it. So that's a lot of pressure and stress.
Absolutely, and people think that the experts would know all the answers, but it's not true. Because we have been quizzing, we have been conducting with the 4 choices, it makes it a little easier. But I made mistakes. I didn't know where Bukhara was. I said Afghanistan, but actually Bukhara is in Uzbekistan.
That's right. And of course, you have to let people know that, look, I think it is this.
That's right. That's
Or
right. I
you
did that.
advise them, look, I'm not very sure. You can take another lifeline, or you can quit.
I did that. But I like that. I like that format where you're able to, and then the contestants who come from across India, the kind of
Such a wide variety
amazing,
of people. I think the diversity is what makes it so remarkable.
Absolutely.
From different walks of life, from different levels of education. That's what marks that out. At a very different end of the spectrum from something like Mastermind.
Absolutely. And I always go back. I've had great privilege of meeting Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam when he was a serving president. And, it's a very interesting episode how I met him in Rashtrapati Bhavan. And when I finally told him that, sir, I want an autograph. So he signed an autograph card for me. And he said, first you have to read it aloud. First of all, I signed only for children, but since you've made an effort, I'm going to read it. But you're going to read the card aloud. And the card said, learning leads to creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking gives you knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. So if you can, be always on the lookout for learning, I think that it'll give you to knowledge, and knowledge can take you places.
So that's a remarkable line on the autograph from Professor APJ Abdul Kalam, and that's something that everybody should keep in their minds. You conducted in different languages?
Mainly English, but I've done in Zonka too. I've got a project where I'm trying to do a Indo-Bhutan quiz, where partially it'll be in English and partially in Zonka.
Tamil?
Tamil a little bit, but Tamil is not very good. In spoken Tamil is not very good. And then certain intricacies, so better to be away from any controversies,
Well, I know. You need to master the language.
Absolutely.
The language is very important in this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
To get it absolutely right. I'm going to take a cue from the incident you mentioned with President APJ Abdul Kalam about your autograph collection. And how large is your collection?
Well, numbers-wise, would be more than about 8,000, 10,000 autographs. But I've been collecting since about 35 plus years. I started about 8, 9 years of age running behind cricketers. 1983, India won the 1983 World Cup. These were my first heroes, running behind Srikanth because he was a local lad, trying to get his autograph. Then cinema stars, trying to get them in matches. Earlier days it was much easier. Then I expanded. I used to write to celebrities abroad, write a letter to them, appreciate them for their work. So I've got autographs of Oprah Winfrey, Clint Eastwood, presidents of the United States, Nobel laureates, writing to them, And these, for a student in 8th or 9th grade, is an expensive hobby, each letter going abroad.
Absolutely.
So I used to make sure my pocket money is well spent. And then when the postman gets you that autograph, it's a great. And you also know that it's coming from White House or some
Wherever it is.
an important address. So that's how I started my journey. Since I was already a philatelist, I also tried to collect first day covers and get them autographed. And slowly I started meeting these celebrities, trying to go and find out if there's an event or they're coming to a particular place, and then try and get their autographs. And through them, I've made friendships with these celebrities, over the years. And most important among them has been MS Dhoni. I went to him first as an autograph hunter, and we got talking, and today is a dear friend of mine.
Fantastic. What I've always found remarkable is the kind of effort you put into chasing these autographs. My God, the most recent, for Sachin Tendulkar's 50th birthday, I think you just you rounded up autographs from all 110, is that right? Of
That's
his
right.
Test cricket teammates.
Absolutely. So Sachin was his 50th birthday was on. So I'm sure people would have given him some expensive gifts and things like that. So I wanted to make the experience unique. And Sachin, we all grew up watching Sachin. And cricket is a team sport. And I'm coming from in the Indian Army where team is such an important thing.
Teamwork, collaboration is everything.
Whatever achievement Sachin has done is because of the team. And then I did a little research, like when you were mentioning about quizzing that you have to read. I did research and I found out there are 110 test teammates of Sachin. And all his accolades are
Over 24 years. Or
over
something.
25 years.
25
years.
right.
And the 200 test matches that he's played. And I did a little research. All of them were alive, except for one. All of them were in India. So I said, okay, why not? This is a great project. So I titled the project as His Mates. And I said, a man will appreciate if you. So I went around the country, found out where these 110 players are, and hunted them down. Some are old cricketers, they've been forgotten. They were happy. Everybody had a story to tell. So I've got 110 plus 111 stories, because when I presented to Sachin, it was a story by itself. And got their autograph or a special caricature of Sachin. And I had completely journaled it on when did I take it, where did I take it, what is the number, what is the effort. For every success story, there are 10 failures, Vinod Kambli, I've tried 5-6 times, just couldn't make it. And one day, by just sheer fortitude, I went to the apartment and he encouraged and he said, come over, let me sign it for me. He recorded a video for me. Virat Kohli was difficult. Tried to get it. Finally, the 110th was Virat Kohli, a true successor to Sachin Tendulkar. And I got all these 110, got them nicely framed. And then to get to Sachin was also difficult. Then luckily the IPL was there. Chennai was playing a match, got an appointment. And when I presented to him, he was completely,
Gobsmacked.
Absolutely. And I think he had tears in his eyes, because it's because of these 110 that he is where he is today.
Apart from his innate talent, of course.
Absolutely.
And what he did, yeah.
Absolutely. He's a legend, and
And what a batsman.
absolutely. And so that was a great. And then after that, just 2 or 3 months, and in these 110, I also came to know about certain people who are not doing too well health-wise in the mental space. So I went and shared that with the authorities in BCCI or friends. I told them that maybe they require support. And sure enough, just a couple of months later, in I think June or something, we lost one of their teammates, David Johnson.
Yes, that's right.
He died by suicide, and so these were the learnings. These 110 were stories, and I say that if I can track down 110 celebrities in Project Sambandh, one can easily track down these next of kin whose maximum information we already have.
1,500 every year.
1,500.
You have a lot of hunting to do.
Absolutely.
Apart from his autographs.
Set the processes in place.
Yes.
So there'll be a lot of people hunting
Yes.
and connecting with them and having it institutionalized.
This is true shikar of a different kind. Hunting them down. My God, what a story. And these stories that you mentioned, have you put it in a book or in some kind of form? Or
I've got them in a
Documented.
raw form. But yes, I got pictures and I've got this.
Potentially it could be a
I
book.
could make it a book or a small video or something, and So every, like what you said, it is a hunt. You need to plan. You need to see, like in an ambush, you need to know what the weapons the celebrities have, what weapons you have. Your pen should work at that time. You get 30 seconds.
And you also get a lot of caricatures and different kind of artworks.
Yeah,
I've seen.
so you need to make it unique. There are going to be other autograph hunters. Maybe he's going to watch you for 1 second or 2 seconds. So what I've done is I've tried to make artworks, encourage artists, and I found that caricatures is a very interesting art form. So I've been supporting caricature artists because it's a very difficult art form, like cartoons or portraits. You have to enhance or exaggerate a particular quality. It could be a physical quality, it could be a non-physical quality. And I discovered some great caricature artists. And generally, the caricature of the person either brings a laugh or they could be angry because they've been portrayed. And that's what an autograph hunter wants. He wants more time with the celebrity, And sure enough, I did that with Pele, the greatest footballer, one of the greatest athletes of all time. He had come to Calcutta. So how do I just need a little attention from him. So I learned a little bit of Portuguese for that.
Just check out the effort Vembu puts into it. To get an autograph from Pele when he was visiting Kolkata, he actually learned a bit of Portuguese And of course, went to Kolkata.
Yeah, that's right.
For that.
So I was serving in the army. Getting a leave in the army is difficult. Then we're going to go to tell your boss that, I'm going for autograph hunting. He said, what's up? And ask for leave. Then do a little recce. How will he come? Where will he come out?
It's a military
It is
operation.
a completely military operation. I don't know whether the autograph collection has helped me in my military operations or the military operations helped me in the autograph. So when Pele came, Pele, and that to Calcutta, football crazy, 3-layer security. There's a lot of people. So how do I? So I learned a little bit of Portuguese. I shouted out to him in Portuguese. So Pele just took a second to turn. He said, where is this Portuguese guy in Calcutta? And when he turned, I had to show him something. So it's audio also and visual also. So people will have a football. That's a typical thing, People have a football or a picture of Pele, but you have to be unique. So I had a caricature of Pele, which I got from an award-winning caricature artist, a guy called Shijo Verghese. His caricature, I showed it to him, and something written in Portuguese saying that, hail the king, happy birthday, He saw that, he says, oh, come here. So the security and all said, oh, this guy knows him already. And he said, my friend. And then when Pele says you're his friend, that's it. And after that,
What more do you do?
that's it. Once you just give me a little bit of opening, after that I'll go and score a century.
The kind of strategic thinking which goes into autograph hunting. On one occasion, Vembu landed up on the KBC set with a pretty large close-up portrait of Amitabh Bachchan made with drawing pins, colored drawing pins, which you stick into paper. And it was a remarkable thing. And he brought the artist too, and the remarkable capability. And it was the face. And you couldn't make out what it was made of, but it was made out of drawing pins. So that made it unique.
Absolutely. So people generally have a picture or something like that. So this was push pins, 11,000 push pins. So this
11,000. Just check that out.
11,000 push pins, and it's a beautiful portrait art done by this artist in Bombay. So of course he's going to look, he's going to talk, and that gives you time to. And so I believe that it's just not about collecting autographs. Every time you're trying to build a relationship, and these celebrities or personalities, they have something which has taken them there, And those 30 seconds or 1 minute that you spend with them, you can gain. And all hobbies are like that, but especially autograph collecting, you have, more than selfies. Selfies is just a picture. Here's a part of history that's going to be with you always, Mahatma Gandhi used to charge 1 rupee per autograph in those days for the Harijan Fund. 1 rupee or 5 rupees per autograph for Harijan. He used to be a prolific letter writer, but you ask for an autograph, he used to charge 5 rupees in today's world is pretty expensive. So it's a part of history that will be there.
Not in today's world, in that world.
Absolutely.
In that world, yeah, absolutely. No, I wasn't aware of this, as a matter of fact. Now, what are some of the really prized autographs that you have?
Oh, well, the ones that I've collected, of course, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, because of the journey and somebody that I looked up to. Cricketers, I've got Sir Don Bradman's autograph. I used to write to him in Australia. Me and my brother used to write. My brother got more autographs writing to him, I used to be there's a little...
So it's not just one autograph, you collect a whole...
Oh, yeah, different pictures. Don Bradman and Sachin together, Don Bradman in the first... Right, and things like that. First day covers and things like that. Cricket, I would say Don Bradman. Football, I would say Pele was one of great this day. His Holiness Dalai Lama. Again, language played a role in it. And when I met him for the first time in Dehradun, and later when I learned the Zonka, spoke to him, because Zonka and Tibetan the script is same. And I traveled with him in a flight, got an autograph. So that was great moments. There are many other films. I've got Dharmendra to sign a songbook, which he had done on screen. And I asked him to recreate the same, this thing, So these are interesting things.
Well, 8,000, there'll be 8,000 stories, I'm sure.
8,000 successful stories and about 30,000 failures. For every autograph I collected, I've also missed just like recently there was a Formula One driver who had come to Chennai. So I got everything right. I went to the airport, but just did realize that he had landed in the domestic and I was waiting for him in the international. I missed him.
Oh, well, there you are. But it's quite a legacy, and I think some museum, somebody somewhere should get it, to keep it. I don't know what thoughts you have had of what you're going to do with this legacy of autographs.
True. I want to take it. I've conducted exhibitions. I've conducted exhibitions in schools, colleges, in educational institutes. I've done it in Bhutan. His Majesty had inaugurated We've got a picture of that also, of His Majesty inaugurating it. So I want to project India through autographs. It's called imprints, where I showcase personalities. And I hope it'll find a place. I've got a small place where I put it up in my house, but I want to take it to a larger space where the public can see it and see who our heroes are. People will know, the Bollywood, people will know who Verghese Kurian was, or what is the story of Baba Amte, And so it's important how they autograph. And autograph is just not a signature. It's got so many things. It's got a date, where they were, some message. So I always like to have an autograph which is addressed to me, to Shankar, with a message, like the Chipko movement, Sundar Bagu always used to say, live life, love trees, something like that, And for a young boy, those are things.
Big thing.
Absolutely. And then he'll put a date, he'll put a place where it was. And these are about historical values. Tomorrow, you can say, okay, Gandhi ji was at Sabarmati on so-and-so date, things like that.
So forth. You've heard where passion can take you from Vembu with his autograph hunting. He also does philately, he also does quizzing. Project Sambandh is something, it's a one-man operation, as you just heard, and he goes on with it. He also dabbles in magic, and I know that I'm not going to ask you to do
Thank
that
God.
now. I know you do it as just, at a casual level.
But it's an amazing art form. Magic is an art form because all of us, we didn't have any, we are not very good in music. We can appreciate music, but none of us we can't play any instruments and things like that. So I found that magic as an art form is amazing. It can appeal to all ages, and especially adults want to be fooled. Adults want to be fooled. Children are the most difficult audience because they say, show me your other hand, turn around, And it's very difficult. And the connect is, you don't require a language. And immediately it brings a smile in people's face. And I have found that this is a great art form, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction yourself, and you can see the immediate reaction. If it's a great music, you might, as a performer, you might not see the reaction immediately. But as a magician, you can see the reaction immediately from the audience, That's, this I know. Oh, that's a trick. That's on your left hand. I'll say, oh, wow. And that's a great kick for a performer. So I do that for children. I also give a little bit of motivational talks where I finish with magic or use magic as a way. And I go to military hospitals to perform for children. It gives a little bit of, the daily sadness that they have.
What stamina you have, and apart from your motivation, it's absolutely remarkable. The amount
Not
of
as being
things
kind.
back into what you do, and of course, Vembu is single. So, in one sense, let's put it differently. His family is vast. There's the whole Project Sambandh families, which are his family, is a matter of speaking, and the kind of family of friends that he's made through autograph hunting.
Absolutely.
Because you keep up with everybody.
Yeah.
And we are in touch very often, for instance. Now, I want to bring this conversation back to something that is central for us, which is the value of foundational and general knowledge in the digital age. Now, the digital age is a double-edged sword. Information is at our fingertips, but it's also important to seek credible sources. The veracity is very important. True learning goes beyond what's on the screen. It's about questioning, connecting, and thinking critically. So you tell us, what do you think a young person should do, or what anybody should do at this point of time to get to the truth of the matter, to get to facts which are corroborated, which is for real?
Absolutely, Babu, you hit the nail on the head, because this I did as part of my in the armed forces, because you get information which is, sometimes not very correct. So if you just go behind every information thinking that it's going to be correct, you can have losses of lives. We're not talking about anything else. So any information, especially in today's digital world where there are so many sources, we don't know what's So I have come up with these two mantras in my life that I always look for, the 3 C's. First, is it correct? Second, is it complete? And third, is it current? Most of the times, people play with these 3 C's. People will take less chances on playing on the correctness. It could be correct, but not in today's day. It could be 15 years earlier. So the correctness is the problem. Or they will miss out on a particular thing. So to do whether it's correct, complete, or current, I follow a cycle where, like you use the right word of corroboration. Is there only one source? Is there any other source that I can go to? The source that I'm going, is there a government site? Is it a gov. Site or an authentic site? Just by it being published in a newspaper is not the, you'll have to go through. So corroboration is important. Also, you need to see what is the credibility of that particular source. If it's already been proved, nowadays you've got digital tools to check that. But also it comes through experience. If you know it's just going to be following what's coming in your instant messaging, whether it's going to be WhatsApp or any other messaging service, or on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, or any other Facebook or things like that, you will have to put this into the cycle. You have to corroborate from other places. You have to analyze it and then synthesize, and then only the information becomes correct. And then go through the 3 C's, which is it correct? Is it complete? And is it current? Anything in this life, is it correct, complete, or current? So for this podcast, I needed to know the current place of this. So I had it in my Google. So I called up and said, what is the exact house number? So correct. It could be a change and things like that. So every information, just put through these 3 C's: correct, complete, and current. I think I should trademark this.
Those are 3 tips for anybody listening.
Yes.
Correct, complete, and current. Those are tips from Colonel Vembu Shankar.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a corollary, which I'm asked pretty often. You might have been asked the same question too. With Google search or whatever search engine you have, with AI now, why do you need to have general knowledge? Why do you need to know about things? You can key it and try and find out. What's your answer to that?
Oh, great. You can key in to find out, but automatically you won't be able to build personal relationships and communication skills by just knowing the facts. When you've gone through the process to find out that fact, is the process which is more important. Like I mentioned to you about MS Dhoni being my friend, he's a great believer in this. He believes that the process is more important than the result. Just by getting the answer of Bhutan's capitalist Thimphu is not important. How did you get that? Did you go to a website? You also found out that Thimphu is so and so, Bhutan is gross national happiness. Those peripheral things is what will take you in a conversation, and whatever academic qualification you have, finally you'll have to have the communication skills and the conversation skills to take it wherever it is. You could be a Nobel laureate, but finally you have to give a speech on the Nobel laureate day, or you could have to present in a paper, or you could be an artist. You could have done something. So it's important that the process of gaining the knowledge, like I mentioned about Abdul Kalam's this thing, that each thing leads to the other.
And I believe also to be able to tell the wood from the trees.
Absolutely.
You have to have enough contextual knowledge. You have to have knowledge enough to be able to pick what is likely to be accurate, what is not, what is a surmise, what is a source, how credible it is.
Correct.
I think you need to have that
Right.
to be able to find your way.
It's like having a book and then having AI tool to summarize the whole book, and you're saying, I will read this book, and you just give out some, just by the AI summary. But then you have to read the book. You will come through some new words, how the author has written it, why he wrote it, whether it's a non-fiction or a fiction. Those are things. And a good book is when you can imagine yourself being in that. We grew up reading a famous 5 or 5 Fine Daughters and things like that, Secret 7. So we realized, we should go on a picnic and have, things like that. Or let's say Amar Chitra Katha, things like that, how things would have been at that time. So those imagination is what are going to take you. Just by knowing that the famous 5 are these 5 people are not going to be this thing. So these summarizing tools.
Depth of knowledge, I believe.
And time is 24 hours the same for everyone. How you manage your time. So this is a learning that I got from the National Defense Academy, which will be useful for your young listeners, is that one of the things in a hostel is the resources. Resources are all common resources. So we were told 5 minutes early at the beginning of the day is 5 minutes early at the end of the day. You will have everything organized, you will come in and everything will be fine. But 5 minutes late at the beginning of the day is 1 hour late at the end of the day. Because you'll forget something, your keys, your identity card, you'll get a punishment. So time, 24 hours, is the resource which nobody can give you anything more. They can give you money, they can give you everything else. But how you manage time. Young people who are listening to this, or everyone, I think how you manage your time is important. You have great tools nowadays, but inherently you should have that, yes, we need to be in a particular place at a particular time. How do we plan? We know that there's going to be traffic. So you have to plan for the traffic, So control the controllables, which are not controllable. Don't go over it. So control the controllables and, utilize that resource very well.
You heard that from a military man. Before we wind up, any message for the people listening out there?
The listeners, young, old, middle-aged, whatever you are, I think passion is something that you should always have in life. Whatever you're doing, I think passion will take you to places. Uh, Always be trying to be happy in life. Being in Bhutan, I found this that the gross national happiness is more important than money. Happiness is important. Have passion in life, and I'm sure you can achieve things.
Colonel Vembu Shankar, my friend, thank you so much for joining us on Quizzitok. Your journey, your stories, and your insights have been truly so interesting to listen to.
Well, thank you very much, Babu. It was a great learning for me too, and it was a great experience for me, a new format, and I hope the listeners will enjoy it. And I want to participate in more such things and learn from you.
It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. The pleasure is all ours. To our listeners, we hope you feel as inspired and stimulated as we do. Remember, whether it's quizzing, stamp collecting, autograph hunting, or simply learning something new each day, there's always room to grow and to explore. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and stay curious.